Hey guys, welcome to Sopi Make Studio Umbiamas, conectando Aruba com o mundo via vídeo podcasting. Conectar conosco, compartilhar ideias e histórias para nos inspirar e para conan abrir. Sopi Make Studio é plataforma de podcast na Aruba. Follow-nos no Facebook, subscribe no YouTube ou na plataforma de podcast preferido. Escute o podcast preferido que hora e onde que está. Sopi Make Studio, powered by Qredits. Botou ideia? Qredits educa e prepara a abo para ser um empresário exitoso. De business plan, guia personal e préstamo para negócio até com 100,000 florin. Bira para mês donho com Qredits. Sopway. Passa na Sopway para o sop, salada, wrap ou flatbread e mais fresco. Com 7 localidades rond Aruba. Nós está cerca de Ibo. Sopway. SwingMasterz. Organizando events, conferences of weddings, Mr. de luz, sound, staging, DJ, trussing of flat screen, SwingMasterz está claro para ser boa fiesta éxito. SwingMasterz. E agora, Sopi Make Studio é plataforma de podcast de Aruba, está apresentar.
Good morning if you woke up and good afternoon if you were awake already.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. A happy day to you.
Enjoy your lunch. Enjoy your breakfast.
Enjoy your breakfast.
Brunch maybe.
I have my cup of coffee to wake up. I had a nice time. Shout out to my friends that were with me last night. It was amazing. So, introductions. Bruce here. Multimedia engineer and overall tech enthusiast, Coder Dojo champion, and learning more every day.
My name is Jean-Luc. A lot of my friends know me as Lucky. I am a student at the University of Aruba, and I've had an interest in tech and games my entire life.
And let's give our thanks to our sponsors, Subway, Eat Fresh,
Qredits,
and also SwingMasterz for this beautiful studio.
Nice.
And today we'll be talking about what's on the news. The conflict in good old Russian propaganda. The conflict. No, it's a operation.
The special military operation.
Yeah, and for us here on Aruba, or at least in my humble opinion, it's definitely a war. And I thought it would be interesting to go through the technologies that are becoming apparent, right?
Yeah.
And so Jean-Luc, what do you think? Where are you mentally regarding this? Are you following a little bit?
Very, very lightly. I'm not.
You're not into it? I'm obsessed.
You're obsessed?
Obsessed, yeah. Absolutely. Obsessed. But I've toned it down the last 3 days because we were busy. And we do have to live our lives.
Yeah, of course.
The gas tank to this morning, 50 guilders, was horrific.
Ooh.
And
so everybody's feeling it. Everybody's feeling that.
So the effects are felt all the way down here. But I thought I wanted to go through it in this way. What's important in a war is now becoming a bit obvious, and I've done a little bit of research. So obviously, military technology, right? So weapons and come into play. So is it fair to say that this is urban warfare in a modern city?
Yeah, definitely.
And is it fair to say that the Russians have been underperforming?
With the reputation that the Russians had,
right?
Most would say yes.
And of course, we do take a little bit with a grain of salt the propaganda machine. And what I wanted to kind of break down is that I think if you look for us as Tech Impact, what's important is the technology used in the war and maybe even some strategy, right? I thought that would be interesting to go through. And also the importance of communication technology.
Yeah.
And I want to touch upon that kind of stuff. So I have for today the military equipment. Let's go through a couple of them and what the effects are in its development. also the importance of or validity of drone technology, and I want to go through that as well. I have some tidbits of information that I thought would be cool. Did you see any drone footage?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
So if you follow that a bit and try to let those algorithms work for you, you'll get lots of footage from basically civilian drones, right? So DJI, and you know the DJI,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We have one at home, and also the communication through traditional or modern mobile technology.
Yeah.
And this is what I kind of want to talk about. So, the invasion right now is, you know what it's about, right? It's about that central city.
Yeah, it's
Right now. So let's not talk about why Russia went in. That's a whole nother discussion. Let's just focus on the technology. So now they're circling around Kiev, right? And obviously that's a problem. So why has been the Ukrainian forces so effective in your opinion? And I have an idea.
Mainly two reasons, right? Demoralized Russian troops, because a lot of them, we found out that a lot of them were not supposed to be even available to be sent out in troops. They were just doing their mandatory sign-ups, and then they got blindly sent without being told that they were, right?
Right.
So there's that, and also that the Ukrainians had access to many new technologies that allowed them to be able to be effective without necessarily being military trained for a decade.
Oh, they were trained.
Weren't.
Were.
Or well, they were at the spot, right? But not were.
You mean the Ukrainian forces?
The Ukrainian, like
they're highly trained.
The civilians, because the civilians.
No, the civilians are not. But
yeah, exactly.
We have to. They're right now they're called the Ukrainian Defense Forces, right? But let's go further. Why are they demoralized? Is because they have access to this technology, which is called the Javelin.
Who are you talking about right now?
Ukrainians, their resistance, because you have on the one side, Russia has a military. Okay, cool. Russia has military supremacy because they have the numbers, right?
Yeah.
You know what they have? And I'm going to quote from military.com. They have long-range missile technology.
Yeah, shelling.
Right? So, well, not shelling. Well, common term. But to be more specific, they have a lot of, obviously, way more warplanes than the Ukrainians do. And they also have a lot of, and they are called, let me double check that for a second. They have thermobaric weapons and cluster munition and bombs as well. And they have long range cruiser missiles. So you need to, when somebody says cruiser, now I realize that, long range.
Yeah.
And the Ukrainians have short range. But here's the problem. They have the tanks. And they need their ground forces to take hold.
Yeah.
And it seems the Javelin, which is a shoulder-mounted rocket launcher, is highly effective. I'm going to ask our producers to pull up one of the pictures so you can see. Okay, we'll keep this one. This is a Stinger.
A Stinger.
Yeah, and that is a ground to air. So this is designed to take on F-16 planes.
Oh my God.
Excuse me, jet planes. Yeah, and
damn.
That is, look at that. It's so tiny.
Yeah.
And it has a warhead, and it's also fire and forget. So there's very interesting technology in there that once it homes onto the plane, all you have to do is fire and they can run. So one soldier can impact big machines, right? So this is very effective for Ukraine, right? And I'll ask the producer for the next one. We have another one. So yeah, this is the Javelin. And what's interesting about this missile, it has a 2 firing phase. So one phase is just to get it out of the tube, and then it refires, and it has a 4-kilometer range.
Damn.
And it also is fire and forget. So there's very interesting systems. So there's infrared cameras and other types of cameras.
And heat signatures, most likely.
and it actually takes a trajectory to hit the weakest point of an armored vehicle or a tank. So it goes up and then fires straight back down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so thank you, producer. So these are highly effective defense for tank forces, right? Because they can be shot from anywhere, really, and they can stay in hiding and keep moving.
Yeah.
So obviously, from a support perspective from NATO, if they keep giving them these missiles, they're going to be highly effective in slowing down. Because I think obviously the strategy is slow them down as much as you can, right?
Exhaust their resources.
Yeah, and they've had, let's go to the issues. They've had huge supply chain issues, right? So basically gas.
There was a key point where they managed to lose over 50 transportation tanks worth of oil, of gas.
Yeah.
Gone, obliterated.
And if you know a little bit of the Ukraine history, I mean, it's like Belgium and Holland, even worse. They were part of the Soviet Union. Kiev used to be a military stronghold, you could say. And they can actually take Russian tanks and use them.
There was even a announcement by the Minister of Finances, I think, that basically announced, if you just so happen to have taken some tanks into your custody, they are tax-free. You don't need to announce them. You don't need to write them down.
Yeah, we live in a crazy world where an actor turns into a war hero, and a very inspirational figure.
Very inspirational.
So I guess, it's kind of...
Props to Zelensky.
Yeah, Zelensky is doing a great job, and I don't see a full takeover. I see that probably the regions that Russia has already conquered, that would be my guess, is that in the compromise, in the peace talks, I think they're going to have to give that region away. And I think Odessa, if they don't attack it, will be basically one of those discussion points between Ukraine and Russia.
Interesting.
I think Odessa, you know where Odessa is, right?
No
you have any idea about the mapping of Ukraine? So just to give you context, after my research, Crimea, which is an island, kind of thing in the Black Sea, they've already taken that. And Belarus is on the east end, right? And now they're coming down from the top. And basically the only port left is Odessa. And Odessa is a major port for export of many goods and services for everyone. So I think Odessa is going to be very important in the next phase. But continuing on the technology aspect of things. So we went through the missiles. So I'm going to ask the producer to produce the Bayraktar drone. Yeah, look at this thing.
How big is it?
I think it's 13 let me pull it up. I have it right here. The drone is 39 feet in wingspan, right? And it can also fly half the speed of a Cessna, which is one of those, single propeller planes that you see in the Cocaine Cowboys. Right? And they try to get them and they just fly so slow that they run out of gas. If you think about it, this is a super stealth weapon. It buzzes around. Nobody can see it, really. And it's reaping havoc on the missile, the ballistic side of the Russian army. So they hunt down those missiles where they are, and their precision hitting them.
Oh, wow.
And interestingly, analysts say that Russia has not taken the supremacy of the air yet. They don't own the air. And that means they, as the drone, can actually fly around, because people would have thought that they would shoot it down. And that, by the way, that's a Turkey-made, made in Turkey, made in Turkey drone. And I actually have an interesting article on Forbes where they talk about the future of the production of that drone. And it's very interesting to see the correlation between capitalism and globalization, and how this war is impacting that, right? So Forbes is basically speculating the future of this drone requires parts from Russian Federation and America, right? Which
Interesting.
puts things in perspective. And, so going already to the production of these tools, there's enormous strain happening on, companies and where they
get the resources
what
from.
the future looks like.
Yeah.
Because the future looks like we're going to have 3 major entities on this planet. So we'll have, China, Eurasia is split in 2 parts,
Yeah.
right? 3 parts. So we have Russian Federation now that holds this ground and is now becoming a total independent banking internet entity.
Yeah.
And
The world is cutting them out. Yeah.
All Western created global corporations
Are pulling out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have China that it borders with Russia. And China is much more than just a military power, and the world is now split in three concepts of globalization almost. I mean, it's not globalization uiteindelijk, because now we have 3 factions. But I think that's what's interesting about this war, the major ripple effects, not only in production, but also I would think a system of goods and services.
The system of goods and services.
Yeah, so
and how they
So, for example, I didn't know this, but let's go down to the other part of the tech. Let's go cyber. Let's enter our world, right? So Russia is now creating its own network, and they're using this as an opportunity to force people. Okay, for now, all internet will be only within our space.
Yeah.
So it's totally totalitarian. It's Orwellian. The importance of George Orwell.
Yeah.
And they're forcing everyone to use their domains. And if you use the domains, you take ownership of all routing, right? The servers don't really matter.
No.
What matters is the domain routing.
Plus,
right?
that's the other very major facet of the war, the information that the public gets exposed to.
Yeah, and that's what I want to get to. Anonymous.
Yeah. They managed to declare war a week ago, right?
Yeah, about 11 days ago, Anonymous just declared war, cyber war, and very interestingly, do you know what? There's also a pro-Russia hacking group. They're the ransomware group.
Oh, so they're the opposite. They're the antithesis.
Well, for example, the ransomware group are guilty of reaping havoc all over the world. Right?
And ransomware.
And
for those who don't know what ransomware is, it's basically this software that would inhibit your computer in some way, shape, or form, or information that you might have, and it will offer you a ransom in order to get it back, quote unquote.
Yes. I'm trying to find, I think they're called CT, something like that.
CT?
1 second. Yeah, I thought I had it in this article, but I'm scrolling again through it. Yeah, but anyway, so they've declared war against them, and they've actually hacked them as well.
Nice.
And I think that's pretty cool. So they're staying true to their hacktivism, right? And I think that's interesting. And you can see the importance of cyber warfare. And in the cyber warfare, there's this fight against or fight for truth. Right? So what's happening? People are fighting the propaganda. There's propaganda happening on both sides, obviously, because that's what war is about. You got to keep people motivated. You got to, talk about casualties and how you got to, destroy morale. But obviously, from the Russian standpoint, we know that, and they know it as well. And I think Zelensky's strategy is if you drag it long enough, do you think that Putin's position is maybe compromisable?
Yeah, because the essentially, right, Putin came into power through the oligarchs of Russia.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
They pretty much appointed him, right? Because they needed someone.
Well, let's not go into that because we haven't done the research for that, so.
I've actually done a little bit.
Okay,
right?
okay, go ahead.
And now, because the entirety of the Western world is pulling out of Russia, especially a lot of major businesses, right? The reason why they put Putin there is for money, right? They're the Russian oligarchs, right? And now their money is being threatened because of this war, even more so than with the oil, right? And there's also a massive civilian unrest amongst people around my age that are not falling for the propaganda, right? So
Can you imagine you have access to Apple Pay, Netflix, Amazon, all these modern platforms and TikTok, and now you're in Siberia,
Gone.
literally. Let me pull this one back in. A group called the Belarusian Cyber Partisans said it hacked railway system in Minsk, Orsha, and Osipovich
wow.
to obstruct Russian military movements towards Ukraine from the country.
Wow.
So,
no, the Anonymous is even hacking major propaganda websites, and because of that, we had the first official, or quote unquote official, Russian death count, which was it was 4,000 at that time.
ouch.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, they're called the Pro-Russia Conti Ransomware Group.
Conti.
Yeah, so we're having, like in the movies, true cyber warfare going on. It's I have to say it's horrific what's going on, but it is compelling to watch. Compelling to see this unfold, and this will have we're going to look at this for 100 years, analyzing.
Yeah. This
History is being made right now, and
but definitely hacking into websites, hacking into personal hardware, because they also managed to leak several hundred gigabytes worth of personal information of many high priority people within Russia, right?
Right.
Great majority would be the oligarchs and their inner circle, right? But basically their public or their private and public information has been exposed as well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this is definitely a war of information, right?
Absolutely, and I want to get to that. So, for example, their attack on Zelensky on the television station, right, or the antenna, was specifically to disconnect his voice, right?
Yeah.
So they started to try and destroy the infrastructure of 3G and 4G, and the Russian has their own proprietary encrypted military voice over software, right, on phones.
Wow.
It has a name, I can't find it now, but if you look at it's called ERA, got it. ERA. And they shot themselves in the foot, and now ERA doesn't work. So people intercepted a message between a commander and high command about one of their generals dying.
Oh.
It was supposed to happen over encrypted software.
Wow.
But because of their own tactic, they had to just use, just normal airwaves. And I think that's an example, and it's really bad for the reputation of, Russia as a military organization.
Oh yeah.
And I think when it comes to the propaganda war, we again have to give the nod towards Ukraine. Because let's put it this way, as the wise Joe Pesci once said in the movie, if you're innocent and they're trying to make you guilty, it's a house of cards because you're innocent. So they're going to build, and all you have to do is flick one card and it's over, right? So I think it's kind of the same thing. The Ukrainians are not manufacturing news. They're just sharing news. So all they have to do is share it, and the propagandists have to put a lot more effort. And it simply is unsustainable to keep that narrative going.
Zelensky just has to say that he's getting assassination attempts. He just has to say that. He doesn't need to explain.
Well, obviously, he's not. If they can kill him, they will. Do you think that they'll capture him and then,
No idea.
It doesn't seem that Russia is going to suffer any kind of repercussions and any war crimes because they're simply in their own world. They're the Russian Federation. That's it.
I mean, Putin also announced that they will pretty much take the countries who aided them to court in some way after the war.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. They have zero jurisdiction. I mean, they can do what they're doing now, right? So they're pretty much powerless because of this paradigm we live in, which is basically some strange balance of power, and we're all pointing the gun, but where the safety's on.
Yeah.
Right? And the end of the world or the end of humanity is basically if you drop 5 of those or 10 of those bombs. And do you know what's going to happen, right?
Nuclear winter,
Exactly, the nuclear winter. So total annihilation, and then the octopus will take over this this planet in a million years, or whatever. Okay, so is there any? So to sort of summarize, the technology in this war is interesting. Oh, and there's also a famous fighter pilot,
the Ghost of Kiev.
The Ghost of Kiev. So you guys go check it out.
They shot the plane down, but then he himself didn't die, so he's now up and running again.
Cool. It's Top Gun, in reality.
Yeah. Shooting down multiple planes in one day.
Crazy stuff. And but I have to say, there's some inspirational stories. What I think is interesting is that these are the million of refugees that didn't seem to have a problem to cross borders like what we're used to from wars from the Middle East, which is, people really push back. So they are closer, I guess, in culture, and then things get dodgy.
That's when
things get dodgy.
That's where the racism and
the racism
and
the double standard.
In. Yeah. In fact, just tapping on this, I'm not sure what his title was, but a person within the British government called the parliament out for this hypocrisy.
I know, but
yeah.
Listen, that's why paradoxes exist, and humans are, in general, hypocritical.
So access to information, right, is very key, especially now since Elon announced that he's basically giving his satellite internet.
Yeah,
system.
the low orbit satellite technology.
What's that called? What's his?
I think just low orbit.
Starlink.
Starlink, yeah.
Starlink. He gave access to Ukraine many modems, and basically is making Starlink free and effective for them. So even if their internet infrastructure were to go down, they wouldn't go offline.
Yeah, that was interesting. DJI as well, they have mapping technology, right? So you could, from your tablet, map out a flight path for the drone. And that's software, and that's available in the cloud by anyone. And listen to this. So the company has tried to stay kind of out of it. They didn't block it. And everybody can use it.
So you can find out what the positioning of.
That's the thing. Yeah. So that's the thing. So you can. Hackers can get access to that mapping, and I think they can even pinpoint. So people, when you're flying a drone, you're risking your life because they might be able to pinpoint you. And then fire a ballistic missile onto you and stuff like that. So people that are flying drones, and that's the thing. The innovation is kind of crazy.
It is. It is.
And it's very sad to see, you know, when it comes to the winning of the propaganda war, when they going back to that, when they share the videos of the captured vehicles and they film inside, and it really looks bad.
Hellish.
Like the cars and the trucks and the tanks, they look like those soldiers are not having a good time. You know what I mean? If you compare the images that are, and remember, we do take into account that this is propaganda, but if you take images of Desert Storm, right, and how the soldiers of America are running their platoons, you know, and then when you compare the images we get shown right now, and from both sides, really, it doesn't look that hot at all. So the Russians look really outdated when it comes to ground forces, and this is definitely not good for the reputation. But hey, he's got nuclear weapons, so
I mean, to round it all up. Damn, excuse me.
it's okay.
To round it all up, right? The people who are currently fighting each other are all the victims of this war, right? And the best way to capture this was a video that was posted by some civilians from Ukraine that managed to capture a random Russian foot soldier, right?
Right.
And they allowed him to call his father. And he explained to his father that he got captured by that he's in Ukraine, not that he's captured, but that he's in Ukraine, right? And his father flipped. It's like, let me get your mother, right? And the mother was like, "What are you doing in Ukraine? You're in Ukraine. What are you doing there?"
Right.
And so this shows that not even the foot soldiers were supposed to be there. Not
Or
even
they
didn't know even.
They don't know what's happening, and I think that I mean, imagine you're on a road. And your phone doesn't work, and you don't have access to Google Maps. You could be anywhere.
You could be anywhere.
You could be anywhere.
Especially in Eurasia. Yeah.
As in, I'm still in Russia.
Yeah. 'Cause
Russia's
it's huge.
enormous.
Yeah. You can drive for hours.
Hours. Dude, it takes days. Remember, to drive from Amsterdam to the Alps took us about 16 hours.
Wow.
To the Alps. In little tiny itty bitty Europe, and now you have to take a continent. We're talking days. So yeah. Anyway, so thank you guys for listening. To sum it up, so communication, very interesting developments happening, and I feel for the Ukrainians, and I actually also feel for the Russians. There are both are victims, the citizens of Russia and the citizens of Ukraine, and in the government of Ukraine are not responsible. I mean, they could be held maybe accountable in some strange way, but obviously this totalitarian is causing havoc on the well-being of millions and millions of people. And I really hope that he will pay for his crimes.
Yeah.
I really hope so.
I think I am very certain that the world agrees with you.
Yeah, and that's all I have to say about it. I do see one positive, which is when 2 years ago, the Western world is polarized by all these dumb things. War does bring people together. Yes. It sucks to say, but that's how, and I'm gonna quote Jared Diamond from the book Guns, Germs, and Steel. This is where the innovation happens.
This is
but I really hope that one day humanity can go beyond. We got here, and now go beyond. Go to that space of, coexisting and taking really seriously how we're gonna move forward in the 21st and 22nd century. Yeah. Okay. Jean-Luc, any final words for this show?
Nothing else really.
We'll come back to the subject next week. By the way, please tune in. We're going to talk about Dfinity and the internet computer. These are very interesting conceptual ideas, but there are people working at it, and I think the goals are noble. So
Web 3.0 Part 3?
well, Web 3, yeah, no, well,
3.0 Part 3.
well, it's not that anymore. Now we're just blockchain based. It's a blockchain based. So tune in and thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys. Do the
Wait. Sponsors.
Oh, thank you, Subway. Eat Fresh, thank you, Qredits, doing a great job helping the community move forward in entrepreneurship.
And thank you, SwingMasterz.
And thank you, SwingMasterz, for this nice studio.
Till next week.
Till next week.